Hello, 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 chaps. This is a new PBEM, where I play Yomi. And this game, the host randomly assigned nations to everyone. So we didn't actually choose our nations, so everyone played stuff that they hadn't played before. And it was also in Dominions Enhanced, so definitely a fresh experience. And I was given the Japanese demons. And I have never played them before, but it seemed pretty clear to me that they're not a scales nation. Like, the troops you just stop using pretty quickly. They're not something you're going to rely on after expansion, maybe not even during expansion. Then the mages are quite nice, but you need to expand. You need to upgrade these using death gems to get higher, stronger mages. So it's really not about the gold. It's about the death gems. Sorcerers, you make a couple so that you can forge air items with them and do some air site searching with them, but you only make a couple of those. Demon generals, pretty nice leadership, but then they only have 70 undead leadership, and you have huge demon swarms that they can't lead because they only can lead 70, so I stopped using them after a bit. Only Shugos are really nice, but they have basically the same bless requirements as the Dione, and the Dione are just fantastic. 7 base magic paths, plus a random, so it's actually 8 base magic paths. Fear, fire resistance, poison resistance, snow move, random abilities like Pillager, Spirit Sight, Chaos Power, so they can do some really nice repel builds, and they summon demons, and they have a retinue of wolves, which is nice in some assassinations. And they have high HP and all the rest of it, high morale, high magic resistance, everything you want on a super competent, except they are demons. So they can get destroyed by the anti-demon scourge weapons that can be forged with fire mages, but that's really their only weakness in my opinion. So what I wanted was, I didn't want scales, I didn't want a rainbow imprisoned bless, I wanted an awake that can either expand or do awake research. And in the vanilla game, Yomi just doesn't have any good Pretender God chassis for expansion. I just don't think any of them are good for expanding. They're all overpriced or too weak to kill independents reliably. So in the base game, I would take a monolith, and because Yomi has an inbuilt scales income malus, I would definitely go for, and because you're taking an awake researcher with the monolith, I would go with this, and then I'd have 350 points left over. I'd go with 6 Dominion. I'd have like loads of points left over. So I would go for a repel build. I would go for attack skill and blood surge and reinvigoration and magic resistance and regen. Regen is by far the most important one for Yomi, because they're sacred giant super competents. You want regen in your bless. And these are probably the scales I would go with. I'm just too much of a pussy to go to death. And luck, because you take Turmoil 3, because you're a Chaos Power Nation, and because you have an inbuilt province income bonus, luck 3 is very, very valuable. So I'd always take that. And you're also gem dependent, so luck gives you some gems as well. So this is what I would do in the vanilla game. There's basically no variation I would consider. This is what I would do every single time as Yomi. I can't think of anything that would be better than this. And that's because you get +7 attack skill from Blood Surge and Attack, and the Attack Bless. So they can repel really hard with Chaos Power and a Burning Pearl. And then they have Reinvigoration, they have Magic Resistance, they have Regeneration. So really, what else is there that you would possibly want from a Bless on your Dione? None of the other Blesses, if I juice everything up so we can see the full Bless list, there are no other blesses that I would even be interested in. Maybe Ore, but Repel, they have base length 3 on their weapons. So Repel, when you have Fear and like 17 attack, attack skill is almost as good as Ore anyway. In fact, it's better than Ore. It's just Repel. Repel is better than Ore, you just do that. So why get Ore? Unless you're paralyzed or something. But I just feel like this scales better against enemies with high morale. Eventually morale falls off, Ore falls off against people with high morale. But you can still repel them if your attack skill is just God tier. The other bless I would consider is shock resistance. Like, none of these other blesses are very relevant. Swiftness, not really relevant. Precision, far shot, windwalker, air shield, thunder weapons, all too expensive or too unimportant. Cold resistance, well, you can just take heat scales and never being cold. And maybe you could take chill aura and cold scales and really surprise people. Because Dione actually have snow move. So you could take chill aura. But auras are mostly underpowered, and other people will have will usually have heat scales anyway, or they'll be undead or something. So I don't know, chill aura just isn't that great. The aura blesses, I want them to be good, but they just aren't. Earth, well, firstly, reinvigoration is amazing on a super competent. So what else do you want? Mountain survival doesn't really matter. Reconstruction, only sometimes okay if a middle-aged Agartha, and even then I would take Hardskin, or I'd always take fire and shock resistance instead on middle-aged Agartha. Middle-aged? Never mind. Larger would be nice. If reinvigoration didn't exist, I'd take larger on Yomi. But reinvigoration is just better and cheaper. Unbreakable, kind of nice because you have Phoenix Pyre. But again, I just feel like reinvigoration is better. I mean, if you're using Phoenix Pyre, you need to stay low on your fatigue. So you take reinvigoration. Fire and shock resistance, well, you're a fire mage, and you have 5 fire resistance anyway, so the fire part of this is wasted. Shock resistance would be okay, but again, it's too expensive compared to reinvigoration. Hardskin and fortitude, both completely useless because you have earth paths on your Dione, so they can cast temper flesh and iron skin. So I would always take reinvigoration. Astral, now fate weaving might actually do some work. But nothing else is useful at all on Dione, and fate weaving is just more expensive and less vitally important compared to magic resistance. Death, well, I actually think that none of these are even remotely useful. The only death bless I would consider on Dione is fear. If you go with an awake Demi-Lich, then maybe fear could be worth it in conjunction with double attack skill or Blood Surge or something like Repel or on Dione with fear. Kind of interesting, but it's overpriced. If Illwinter does a balance patch to finally sort out the blesses and make them less unbalanced, then there's a few blesses I would be considering, such as fear. And actually, Inspirational Presence is kind of overcosted. If that only cost 3, I would kind of want to consider it to boost the morale of the little Koani, but the fact is that there's a lot of stuff that little Koani can't kill, and only the Dione can kill, so the Dione just matter more than your demon swarms. And that means you want to go attack skill. I think repel builds are just so damn good. So I wouldn't take fear at all. Then there's the nature blesses. Regen is just vastly better than every other option. Bark skin, not relevant when you have earth paths. It's only useful for Abyssia in my opinion. Berserker only gives you Berserker +2, so it's only giving you a +2 bonus to your attack, encumbrance, which is a negative. Natural protection doesn't do anything. Underpowered, too expensive, doesn't do enough. Recuperation, well, I mean, it's kind of nice, but it costs 5 nature paths. So why not just increase it to regen? It's just a stronger effect. Then there's Blood Surge. Well, you already have lots of HP and lots of strength, and you are looking at individual super competence, so you don't want Blood Bond. Unholy Weapons, again, you're already doing loads of damage. Blood Vengeance, well, kind of nice actually, but you don't have that much HP. Like, you have 50 HP. Mostly you don't want to be taking damage, because you want to have all of the defensive stuff like high protection or regen, magic resistance, elemental resistances, everything like that. So you don't really want to be taking 50 damage. Could be nice, maybe, to dumpster people who are casting Leech. That would be kind of funny if someone is casting Leech with a low HP mage. Could actually work, but Blood Surge for the repel, the attack skill, and a little bit of reinvigoration is just more important. I don't really rate defense skill, because if you're surrounded, then any amount of defense skill will get harassed down. Now, if you have a Vine Shield, an Ore, and stuff like that, then it won't get harassed down, and it'll still be useful. But in that case, well, you're being protected by Vine Shield anyway. So, maybe you should just tank the occasional hit. Or maybe you should just have fear and attack skill and blood surge. So defense skill on Dione, I feel like defense skill is for line troops. It's for mass sacreds fighting other troops. I don't think it's really for super competence. It would only be useful if someone is surrounded, if your Dione is surrounded by enemy chaff into which an enemy thug has been mixed who has berserk, so you can't repel them. That's when you block all the other chaff with Vine Shield, and then you have some defense skill left over to block the thug's attack. That would be nice then, but that's kind of niche compared to repel, which is always useful. So that's just my explanation of what paths I think are good. So I would actually dump Death as well. I would go with this build in vanilla, something like this. Maybe the Monolith is actually cheaper in this in Dominions Enhanced, which is surprising. So, but we're not in the vanilla. We're in Dominions Enhanced, so you don't have to go for an Awake Researcher immobile. You can go for a big beefy Titan. In the base game, Titans are dog shit, mostly. But in this, they're good. They're actually good, some of them. So as I said before, the most important skill, the most important bless, is regeneration. I definitely want my Titan that I pick to have to have nature paths. The monsters also have nature paths, some of them, but they only have nature paths, so their bless will just be limited to nature unless you pay out the arse to get 80 points, plus 80 points, to get another path. Too expensive. I want a Titan that has nature and other paths. So this guy doesn't have nature. These guys do not have nature. In fact, only 3 of them do. There's this one, and she can't really expand. She doesn't have a weapon, she doesn't have armor, she doesn't have anything that would make her expand, so I'm not going to take her. And it's really only this guy who has nature, and this guy who has nature. Now this guy has nature, earth, fire, all paths that I was interested in. It's nice that we have earth, because I think after regen, I think reinvigoration is probably the next most important bless. So this chappie has 23 protection, really nice bless, really good base defense and attack skills. Or I think this guy, and he has a really nice inbuilt weapon as well for repel, double attack skill bless. I should have taken this guy. I should have taken this guy, and I should have gone regen, blood surge, double attack skill, and double reinvigoration. And I should have had this. I should have had something like this. This would have been good, I think. I mean, it's a fairly large game, so I wouldn't dump. I didn't dump growth because this had like 15 or 16 players or something. So this would have been a nice build, but instead I got sucked into this guy because he's got Berserker, so he's kind of nice for that reason. And he also has a Bull Demon form, so this guy wasn't terrible either. Not as good as the other guy, but he was okay. And I think, and I should have got luck, and I should have completely dumped my temperature scale, but at the time that I was making this guy, I overestimated the importance of temperature scales on income. I overestimated the importance of income in general on Yomi, and I hugely underestimated how painful it is to get misfortune. With Turmoil 3, I really should have gone for full luck, but instead, and I also overestimated how many Naminari researchers I was playing, so I was still kind of trying to play Yomi as a Scales Nation, partly, which is a mistake. They just aren't. They just aren't. Use research items. Get luck 3. Dump every income scale. Go into death if you feel like it. Hell bless those Dione. Use them as super competence that can repel anything. But unfortunately I wasn't wise enough, experienced enough to do that, so I did this build, which is definitely not ideal, but it's got some nice features. It's got fairly high Dominion strength, so I bullied people with my Dominion. It's got, I mean, income is still kind of useful, but it's not as good as luck. And it's got some nice research. Like I did make some Naminaris. So this was the build I used. Not terrible, really good expander that then turns into a Titan that you can fully gear, who has Berserker 5. So the Titan, guess what? Repel build, because he's got Berserker 5. That gives +5 to your attack skill. So that's my pretender design. The next thing I want to say in this introductory video is just some points about the mistakes I made in the game and also in the recording of the videos. So one thing is that the visuals bugged out for turn 9 and 10, so that the game is not actually visible and you can just hear my voice. So I do apologize about that. Another thing is that I accidentally switched from my good microphone to my crappy headset microphone for like 20 turns or something. So your ears will be assaulted by horrible noises if you listen to that. You can make out what you can still tell what I'm saying, but it's bloody low quality and annoying to listen to. And the last thing I want to say, so here's my pretender as I eventually made him. Don't Google this name. I couldn't think of what to name him, so I just used my usual technique. But anyway, the other problem was Hello chaps, it's part 2 of the introduction. I just got interrupted in real life. And I just wanted to say the other thing I got wrong while you see a little teaser on the screen. So the other things I got wrong was I said stuff about only spawning from temples being increased in your Dominion when you have Unrest. That's not true. All you need is Turmoil 3, and having Unrest on top of that is not good. It just reduces your income, which is bad. And the other thing I got wrong was I was kind of rude about some of the players. I said they were low skill, and I didn't mean that as in a flaming way. I just meant it as a way to describe the game, because part of understanding any Dominions game is understanding the skill level of the people you're up against and what they're likely to be able to come up with. So I was just trying to describe the game, but it may sound a bit bitchy or rude. I think I tried to specify at the time when I said that I didn't mean to insult them. But that's just something to bear in mind. And you can have a little teaser of what happens later on in the game. A National Heroic Blood Summon, Air Mage, not Blood Summon, Air Mage, Air 5 with the Air Booster. And this guy, notice how he is not wearing a Ring of the Warrior that gives +5 attack skill. And he's not wearing a Burning Pearl that gives +4. And he's using a Magic Staff which only has +2 to your attack. And he still has 21 attack. So imagine the repel shenanigans that you can get up to when you cast Darkness to reduce enemy defense skill, and maybe when you cast Blood Ray to reduce their morale, and when you are using a high attack skill weapon like a Hell Sword, if you have the Blood Fire Crosspath from empowering a Blood Mage. And what if you're using the Ring of the Warrior, and maybe a Darkness Helm as well, instead of this national item which is bloody amazing. You can get up to 30 or 36 or maybe even 40 attack skill on a Dione with Blood Surge, and with every little bit that you can scrounge together. So they're amazing, and you can boost the morale of your Koani so that they have 13 morale, which is kind of okay. And you can make them fly, and you can protect them with Fog Warriors. And you can cast Phoenix Pyre on your Dione so that they stay alive even longer. You can do all sorts of nice things. You can forge the awesome Dominions Enhanced items. This is just the teaser. So anyway, that is the intro to this PBM. Now, the next thing that I'm going to upload is, of course, Turn 1. This PBM video series will start at Turn 1. It's not going to be like the former one that started at Turn 37, which was stupid. So anyway, I hope that you consider this worth watching. But I had fun making it even if no one watches it, and it helped me check all the stuff I did in my turns, so whatever. And I'm also slightly mad, so I like to murmur to myself. Toodles!